Warning: the following video contains footage from the main scenario campaign. Although no actual plot from the campaign is used, the scenes used themselves might serve as minor spoilers for some viewers. If you would like to avoid this, please use the timestamps below in the video description to skip ahead to each job's information segment. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Up first, the Black Mage. Exploding onto the scene is the iconic Black Mage, Final Fantasy XIV's resident Mythbuster. And by Mythbuster, I mean it blows up mythical enemies with over-the-top explosive force. Let's go over the Black Mage's advantages first. The Black Mage's first strength is its explosive power. The Black Mage comes equipped with several spells that can do very heavy damage. The Black Mage's thunder spells are its only damage over time, or dot spells. Each tick of damage from any of the thunder spells has a chance to proc the thundercloud effect, which allows any of the thunder spells to be cast instantly and add their full damage over time amount to their initial damage, while still applying the dot effect, all at no MP cost. Next, let's go over the Astral Fire effect in the Black Mage's fire spells. Every time the Black Mage casts a fire spell, including Flare, it is granted a stack of the Astral Fire effect, which increases the amount of damage all fire spells deal by 40% with 1 stack, 60% with 2, and 80% with the maximum 3 stacks. Fire is the Black Mage's standard attack spell and does moderate damage. Its main functions at level 70 are to add 1 stack of Astral Fire, to refresh the Astral Fire timer, and to proc the Fire Starter effect, which allows Fire 3 to be instantly cast. Fire 3 is a strong spell which also grants 3 stacks of Astral Fire in 1 cast. It is mainly used while under Umbral Ice to speed up its cast, or is used when under the Fire Starter effect to be cast instantly. Fire 4 is an explosive high damage spell and is the backbone of the Black Mage's devastating arsenal. Unlike the other fire spells, Fire 4 neither grants any stacks of Astral Fire nor does it refresh the timer, requiring the Black Mage's volley of Fire 4 explosions to be interrupted by either a fire or proc Fire 3 to keep Astral Fire going. Fire 4 can only be used when under the Enochian effect, an effect that lasts as long as the Black Mage can keep up either Astral Fire or Umbral Ice. Flare is the devastating AoE explosion, with its potency suffering from diminishing returns for every enemy it hits after the first. Flare is favored as the primary AoE spell at level 70. Flare consumes all of the Black Mage's remaining MP when cast. Last but certainly not least is Foul, the strongest spell in the Black Mage's arsenal. Foul is an extremely powerful AoE arcane explosion, though it does suffer from diminishing returns. It still does massive damage to those caught in its explosive blast, and best of all, it costs no MP. Foul can only be cast when under the Polyglot effect, an effect attained every 30 seconds that either Astral Fire or Umbral Ice is up. Casting Foul consumes this effect. The second advantage the Black Mage has is that it can essentially never fully run out of MP in battle. When low in MP, a Black Mage can cast its Blizzard spells to grant itself stacks of the Umbral Ice effect, with Blizzard 3 giving the maximum 3 stacks of Umbral Ice in 1 cast. Alternatively, the Black Mage can use Transpose to convert all current stacks of Astral Fire into 1 stack of Umbral Ice. Transpose also works the other way around, converting Umbral Ice into Astral Fire. Each stack of Umbral Ice significantly increases the amount of MP the Black Mage regenerates. This not only allows the Black Mage to continuously cast explosions without stopping to rest, it also allows the Black Mage to quickly recover its MP pool even after dying, letting it continue on with its deadly barrage of explosions almost as if nothing happened. When the Black Mage casts Blizzard 4, it receives 3 stacks of the Umbral Hearts effects, which lowers the cost of all fire spells significantly, with each fire spell cast consuming a stack. Umbral Hearts also allows an additional Flare to be cast since Flare no longer consumes all the Black Mage's MP under the Umbral Hearts effect. Flare's explosion does however consume all stacks of Umbral Hearts at once though. Finally, if the Black Mage is really hurting for MP, it can sacrifice some of its own health to gain a decent amount of MP back. The Black Mage just has to be careful to be clear of any explosions or any other type of threat before using this. Now for the Black Mage's disadvantages. In truth, this disadvantage is purely subjective since it's really down to playstyle preference. The Black Mage's main disadvantage in my view is its mainly stationary gameplay. Having to hard cast its spells the vast majority of the time, the Black Mage greatly benefits from being mostly stationary in a fight. Its Leylines ability further encourages this, as it only increases the Black Mage's spellcasting rate as long as the Black Mage stays within the affected area. Excelling in this type of play requires much more intimate knowledge of the game's encounters in order to know where to stand in any given situation to minimize movement and maximize damage. This is not to say the Black Mage has mobility issues though, since it has Ethereal Manipulation, a 10-second cooldown ability which lets a Black Mage quickly teleport to a party member's side. The Black Mage can also be mobile while attacking from time to time, using the Thundercloud and Firestarter procs mentioned earlier, as well as Triple Cast, a 60-second cooldown ability which lets the Black Mage cast any 3 spells instantly. In summary, the Black Mage brings 2 advantages to the table, its incredible explosions and its limitless MP pool, which leads to more explosions. Its only disadvantage is its mainly stationary playstyle. In its current state, I feel that the Black Mage is in quite a good spot. It may bring nothing to the table other than its damage, but for me that damage is more than good enough. Because explosions. Up next, the Summoner. With the power to bend the very essences of the primals to its will, the Summoner is a powerful force on the battlefield. Armed with tomes and arcane knowledge, the Summoner boasts a couple of key strengths and advantages that help it decimate its foes. Let's go over these strengths. The first notable advantage the Summoner has, particularly over the Black Mage, is its ability to support the party. Aether Pact is a pet ability that grants any nearby party member the Devotion buff, a 2% increase to both damage output and damage reduction, as well as increasing healing output by 5%. If an ally falls in battle, the Summoner can cast Resurrection and bring them back from the brink of death. Combined with the role ability Swift Cast, the Summoner's Resurrection spell is very handy in dire situations and can potentially save a party from wiping. The second advantage, and arguably the Summoner's greatest strength, is its ability to output almost all of its full damage potential while being completely on the move. This is all thanks to damage coming from the Summoner's damage over time spells, its many instant cast spells and offensive abilities, and of course the Primal Eggies, the Summoner's summoned pets. Let's first go over the Summoner's damage over time spells, or DOTS. The Summoner has 2 damage over time spells, Miasma and Bio, which have 3 levels of power each. The Summoner can also use Tri-Disaster, an ability that applies both Bio 3 and Miasma 3 instantly to the target, as well as the debuff Ruination, which increases the damage the target takes from any ruin spells. The last dot the Summoner has is Shadow Flare, a ground-targeted AoE that damages and slows enemies. Aside from dots, the Summoner has a whole arsenal of instant cast spells and offensive abilities. Ruin 2 is a 100 potency instant cast spell. Being just 20 points shy of Ruin 3, the Summoner's primary attack spell, Ruin 2 is an excellent alternative to use if standing still to cast is just not an option. Ruin 2 changes into another spell under a certain condition, which I will get to a little later on. By using a stack of its job resource Aetherflow, the summoner can use any one of 4 Aetherflow abilities. Energy Drain is an ability that absorbs a portion of the damage it deals as HP while also restoring MP. Bane is an ability that spreads a target's bio and miasma debuffs to all nearby enemies. Fester is an ability that deals damage if the target is suffering from either the bio or miasma effect, or double the damage if suffering from both. Finally, Pain Flare is an AoE ability that damages the target and all enemies near it. Although best used against multiple enemies, using it against a single target isn't bad either, especially when setting up for Dreadworm Trance. Dreadworm Trance is a temporary combat state the summoner can undergo, and can be accessed only after using 3 Aetherflow abilities. Once under Dreadworm Trance, the summoner's magic damage dealt is increased by 10%, and the cast time of Ruin 3 is removed, which helps the summoner deal even more damage while on the move. Dreadworm Trance also affects Tribind, increasing its potency, reducing its MP cost, and removing its bind effect. Finally, Dreadworm Trance also allows the summoner to use Death Flare, a powerful AoE ability, albeit with diminishing returns. After using Death Flare, Dreadworm Trance ends, so it's best to use Death Flare only when Dreadworm Trance's duration is about to run out. Now onto the summoner's pets, the Primal Eggies. The summoner can summon any one of 3 mini primals into battle. Garuda Eggy, which is great for Spellcaster heavy parties, Ifrit Eggy, which is great for physical damage focus parties, and Titan Eggy, which is great for solo adventures or deep dungeon parties with no other tank. The summoner can use the ability Rouse to temporarily boost the healing potency and damage output of any of these 3 pets by 40%, while also making them immune to Stun, Sleep, Bind, and Heavy. Additionally, with the Enhanced Ruin 2 trait, any actions from the Eggies has a 15% chance to grant the further Ruin effect on the summoner. This turns the Ruin 2 spell into Ruin 4, which is double the potency and half the MP cost of Ruin 2. The summoner has one final Eggy it can summon, Demi-Bahamut, the Great Calamity itself. After using Dreadworm Trance twice, the Summon Bahamut ability becomes available. When used, the current Eggy on the field is removed and is replaced with Demi-Bahamut, which stays on the field for 20 seconds. Demi-Bahamut will attack with Worm Wave each and every time the summoner performs an action against an enemy. Additionally, Demi-Bahamut can use Akmorn, a devastating AoE attack, albeit with diminishing returns. This attack has a 13-second cooldown, so it is best used as soon as Demi-Bahamut is summoned and once more before it leaves the field. Now for the summoner's weaknesses. In truth, the summoner mainly has one weakness, but it is a significant one, with Aetherflow, the Eggies, Dreadworm Trance, and Demi-Bahamut all tied into it. The summoner's biggest weakness is its recovery from death. Dying is a summoner's worst nightmare, as any Aetherflow stacks are lost upon death. With both its Dreadworm Trance and Summon Bahamut phases completely reliant on Aetherflow stacks, the summoner really cannot afford to die. There will always be something horribly wasted, whether it's an active Dreadworm Trance, an active Bahamut summon, or even just the loss of Aetherflow. Also, any Eggy used must be summoned again as it is lost when the summoner dies. In summary, the summoner has a couple of support options available to it, including a group buff as well as a very useful resurrection spell. Its greatest advantage over the other spellcasters comes from its ability to nearly maximize its damage while being completely on the move. Its one big disadvantage, however, is that it cannot afford to die. Despite this, I feel that the summoner is in an amazing place right now, being able to go head to head with the Black Mage in terms of damage. The summoner is definitely a more than worthy contender for the Spellcaster throne. Huh? He cheated. Finally, the Red Mage. The Red Mage is an iconic spellcaster melee hybrid of Final Fantasy XIV. Equipped with rapier, black magic, and white magic, the Red Mage is a well-rounded hero, ready to vanquish any that stand in its way. Let's go over the strengths of the Crimson spellcasting duelist. The Red Mage's first strength is its outstanding mobility in battle. The Red Mage has several abilities and skills that help it deal damage to its enemies while moving around the battlefield. Core is a gap-closing attack that flings the Red Mage toward its target. On the flip side, Displacement is a backflip attack that springs the Red Mage away from its target. These two abilities allow the Red Mage a great deal of mobility while also dealing decent damage. While on the move, the Red Mage can also instantly attack with two different abilities. The first is Flesh, a powerful single target attack with a 25-second cooldown that shoots magical swords at the Red Mage's target. The second is Contre Sixth, an AoE attack that rains swords on a target and all nearby enemies. After casting any one of its spells, the Red Mage gains the dual cast status, allowing it to cast a second spell instantly. Although the cast time of this second spell is completely bypassed, the global cooldown is still in effect, giving the Red Mage a couple of seconds to move around while waiting to be able to cast another spell. Finally, the Red Mage can also perform melee attacks, all of which can be done while on the move. This leads me to the Red Mage's second and greatest advantage. The greatest advantage the Red Mage has is its unmatched versatility, particularly its highly adaptive combat style as well as its amazing support capabilities. Let's examine its combat style first. Though primarily a caster, the Red Mage can hold its own in melee combat with a 3-part melee combo, consisting of Riposte, Zwerchot, and Redoublement. If the Red Mage has at least 80 points in both black and white mana in its mana gauge, these melee attacks are enhanced, turning into Enchanted Riposte, Enchanted Zwerchot, and Enchanted Redoublement respectively. Furthermore, executing this enchanted combo allows the use of any one of two high-potency instant spells, Verholy, a very powerful white magic spell that increases white mana, or Verflare, an explosive black magic spell that increases black mana. When dealing with a large pack of enemies, the Red Mage can use the AoE spell Scatter, which can be used back-to-back with the dual cast status. Alternatively, with at least 30 points in both its white and black mana, the Red Mage can use Enchanted Moulinet, a melee cone AoE attack with double the potency of Scatter. One final note about the Red Mage's playstyle is that it's relatively simple compared to the Black Mage and Summoner. This simpler style of play allows the Red Mage to focus more on learning and reacting to encounters and mechanics instead of having to keep its eyes glued to its skill bar. Finally, let's discuss the Red Mage's support capabilities. Embolden is an ability which increases the Red Mage's own damage by 10%, while also increasing the physical damage dealt by any nearby party members by 10%. Both of these effects are reduced by 20% every 4 seconds, however. This is great in parties that are composed primarily of physical attackers, though not so good for spellcaster-heavy parties. The Red Mage also has two powerful restorative spells. The first spell, Vercure, is a very potent healing spell which, when used twice back-to-back, can essentially provide a hefty spot heal in case of emergencies. The second spell, Veraze, resurrects fallen players and when used with the dual cast status, becomes an instant cast resurrection spell that can be used to raise multiple fallen players in a very short period of time, albeit with a significant cost to the Red Mage's MP. Now onto the Red Mage's disadvantages. The Red Mage has two notable disadvantages. The first is MP recovery. The Red Mage has no way of significantly recovering MP outside of using the role skill Lucid Dreaming, as well as its own natural in-combat MP regen. It has absolutely no other MP recovery skill than this role skill, a situation made all the worse if a Red Mage dies and has Lucid Dreaming on cooldown after being raised. Another disadvantage the Red Mage has is its damage output. Although its DPS is much more consistent compared to the Black Mage and the Summoner, the Red Mage's overall DPS is noticeably, and in some cases significantly, lower than both its peers. This is to be expected though, given its relatively easy playstyle and the amount of support it can give to a party. In summary, the Red Mage's biggest advantages are its mobility, its adaptive and fairly straightforward combat style, and its amazing support. Its two main disadvantages are its horrible MP recovery and its low damage output relative to the other two spellcaster DPS jobs. The Red Mage has so far withstood the test of time and has not had, nor in my opinion really needed, any changes to any of its PvE skills and abilities. In my view, it's a well-designed and balanced job that fulfills the fantasy of the jack-of-all-trades adventurer that would be welcome in any party. Now that I've gone over each individual spellcaster, it's time to give them my own personal rankings. I'll be ranking them again based on 2 categories. First, for progression and other never-before-seen content, and second, for farming content and speedruns. Like all my other comparison videos in the past, these rankings are strictly subjective and are only based on my own personal preferences. Now onto my personal rankings. Let's first start off with progression and other new content. In third place, I choose the Black Mage. The Black Mage is capable of doing terrifying amounts of damage. However, knowing the mechanics of an encounter beforehand is highly suggested so that the Black Mage can position itself properly to minimize its movement and maximize its damage. When running completely new content or progression content, or even just running content blind, finding a good spot to hunker down and start casting can prove to be a bit challenging. It is for this reason alone why I rank the Black Mage third in this category. Second place goes to the Summoner. The Summoner is amazing to use for both new content and progression, even when running completely blind. Its mobility while sustaining very high damage is its key selling point. Add its resurrection spell into the mix and you've got a job that's more than welcome in any progression raiding party. In my opinion, there are only 2 reasons why Summoner isn't in first place in this category. The first is its horrible experience when recovering from death. With death being a certainty in progression content, the Summoner's DPS can take a horrible dive, making them a bit of a liability compared to the other 2 mages. The second is that one other job just feels like it was made particularly to excel in new and progression content. That job, in the number 1 spot, is the Red Mage. In my view, the Red Mage is the perfect fit for running completely new content, progression content, or running anything in general completely blind. It is very simple playstyle that allows the Red Mage to focus more on learning and reacting to mechanics. It outputs consistent damage and has very good mobility. Finally, its main selling point in this category is that dual cast Veraze is extremely powerful, if not borderline overpowered. It provides a comfortable safety net and for progression raids, allows a party to push forward even after a near total wipe just to see that next mechanic or phase. Now here are my rankings for farm content and speedruns. The Red Mage takes third place for this category. While Veraze is still very helpful even in farming content, the one major point holding the Red Mage back in this category, especially when it comes to speedruns, is its damage output. Although its damage is much more consistent than both the Black Mage and Summoner, the Red Mage dishes out noticeably less damage than either of its peers. When damage is king, Red Mage just can't deliver as well as the other 2, and thus the Red Mage falls to third place in this category. In second place is the Summoner. Now this one was a really tough call. The Summoner can usually compete with the Black Mage for overall DPS in a fight due to how mobile it is. Its support skills and resurrection spells are boons for any party. Also, its ability to output nearly close to its maximum damage potential while running around and dodging mechanics is unrivaled and would have placed this job at the top spot in this category had it not been for the fact that, if it ever dies, it has the hardest time recovering DPS-wise. In my opinion, for this reason alone, the Summoner just misses out on the top spot. Which means in first place, I choose the Black Mage. For me, the Black Mage just barely edges out the Summoner for the top spot in this category. The Black Mage can do amazing amounts of damage, particularly when it can stay in one spot and just cast away. Its mobility has improved significantly since patch 4.2, especially with Ethereal Manipulation's cooldown being brought down to just 10 seconds. Also, it recovers from any death much better than both the Red Mage and Summoner. It is for all these reasons that I personally place the Black Mage at the top of the farming content and speedrun category. How do you personally rate these 3 jobs? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also, let me know if I made any errors and I will address them in the description of the video or in a follow-up video if need be. Thank you all so very much for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And a special thank you to all my current subscribers. I wouldn't be here today without all of you folks. Thank you again for watching, and as always, take care. See you next time.